Hi folks, welcome to Testing Hacks. Today the topic is the client server architecture. So, it is one of the important topic before you start your career as a software engineer. It is important to know the what is client server architecture. So, before we begin, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe to the channel and also watch till the end. You have some interesting examples coming forward. Let's begin. First, we will understand what is client. So, a client is a receiving end of a service or a requester of a service. The client is most often located on another system or computer which can be accessed via a network. So, as we say that client is a receiving end of a service or a requester of a service. Suppose say we are the clients, correct, right? So we are the client. How? Let's give an example. Let's take an example of you have a Chrome browser. You light it up. Okay, you open the Chrome browser and you will enter the URL, or you can search for something, and in return you will get something in response, correct? So what you are doing, you are requesting for the service. So so that means that we are the clients. Okay, so we are the clients and we are requesting the computer for to give us a service. So fine, then we have different type of clients. We will go through one by one. First is thin client, a client application with minimum functions that uses the resource provided by the host of a computer, and its job is usually just to display results processed by the server. It simply relies on the server to do most of all or all of its processing. So in thin client, it will not be having any memory to process. It will not be having the capability to process the result. So which means that it will just help in displaying the result which is processed by the server, in a simple word. Okay, so when it comes to thick client or the fat client, also we can call it as, this is opposite of thin client. It can do most of the processing and does not necessarily rely on central server, but may need to connect to one or one for some information uploading or to update data or the program itself. In thin client, what we did, the client was not capable of processing anything, but thick client is completely opposite of that. It has the capacity to process. Okay, and it does not depend on the centralized server to get the information, but sometimes it requires the help of the centralized server too. So in that case it will take the help. Most of the task thick client will do by itself. Okay, so some of the things like uploading or to update the data, in that case it will request the main server. And we have another type of client which is a hybrid client. It exhibits the characteristic of both of these two, which is thin client and thick client. It can do most processes on its own but may rely on a server for critical data or for the storage. So this is a simple wording, so that you can understand that it is a combination of thick client and thin client. Sometimes it relies on the server to just store the data in that case, but most of the things it will do by itself. So finally we saw what is client, and now let's move on to what is server. So then what is server? A server is a software or a hardware device that accepts and responds to the request made over the network. So, what does it mean? You are a client and you have sent a request, hmm, but you don't know where it is going, right? And behind that scene, something is happening and which will get you back some response, correct? So, whatever you request will go and hit in the server, and server will get you the response back. Suppose if you are requesting for something, say example www.google.com. So once you enter the URL, it will be directly directed to the server. So the server will get you all the information, and it will display you the google.com web page on in a response. Okay. So with servers, we have different types of servers. In that, we will go through a few of the servers: application server, cloud server, database server, dedicated server, domain name service, file server, mail server, print server, proxy server, and web server. So let's go one by one. What is application server starting from? Fine. So application server. The application server is a framework and environment where applications can run no matter what they are or what function they perform. An application server can develop and run web based applications. There are many different types of application servers, including Java, PHP, and .NET framework applications. So once you run all these applications, it will it will be redirected to the application server. Next is cloud server. So, cloud computing is a term used to describe services provided over a network by collection of remote services. This abstract cloud of computers provides massive distributed storage and processing power that can be accessed by any internet connected device running a web browser. Suppose, say, we have something you might have heard about the AWS server, correct? You might have heard about it. AWS right now, AWS is going on a so peak. Why? Because it is a cloud based server which has massive storage capacity. Okay, so that is the reason, and also it has quick processing speed. That is the reason now all the people are migrating their database and then the servers from um, local, or else whatever the cloud server we have, right? I mean the local server we have, right, to the cloud servers. Next is database server. So database server is a server used to store the data. Okay, and then users can access the data by executing a query using the query language specific to that particular database. Suppose example SQL server. You might have heard about SQL server, right? So if you want to retrieve the data from the database, or if you want to store the data to the database, you will write some specific query. Suppose you want to retrieve the data, you will write the select star query. And if you want to store the data to the database, you will insert that. So you will execute saying that insert into this particular table. Okay, so like that the database server works. And next is dedicated server. A server that is hosted by a company and only allows one company to lease and access, it is called as a dedicated server. Okay, only a specific company leases it, or it can might, if the company has their capacity to buy a new server, they will choose the particular dedicated server for their company and they will use it. So that is where dedicated server comes into picture. And domain name service, DNS, it is the acronym of the DNS is domain name service, is a service that receives a request containing a domain name, host name, and corresponds with corresponding IP address. So if you see your URL, whatever you enter on your website, that is actually a domain name service, which is nothing but, say you will write the domain name www.google.com and it will hit the particular host, and it will be attached with some of the port numbers. You might have seen the port numbers. When it hits that particular port, it will retrieve the corresponding IP. With corresponding IP address, it will retrieve the data and it will be displayed on your screen. And we have something like file server. A file server is a computer on a network that is used to provide users on a network with access to files. Suppose if you want to send a file or receive a file, this file servers will be used. And we have some mail server, right? Definitely you will be knowing what is mail and what kind of mail you will do, right? Electronic mails, whatever you do today, it is mainly a remote or a central computer that holds electronic mail for clients on a network which is called as mail server. If you want to communicate via mail, so the mail server is what is used. And next is print server, a computer or standalone device responsible for managing one or more printers on a network. Suppose if you want to print something through online, definitely print server will be used. You might observe from now. So next is proxy server. A proxy is a computer server or program that's part of a gateway server, another computer that separates a local network from outside network. So sometimes you might not be able to reach to certain websites. In that case, you might have heard about the proxy. Might be you can change the proxy settings and try. In that case, you will be seeing some of the proxy errors. So that is where you will get to know it is the proxy which is not allowing you to access that website, particular website. And next is web server, computer or collection of computers used to deliver web pages and other content to multiple users. Suppose say you are the definitely we will be trying to access the web applications or web pages, right? That is through this web server. Whatever we try to, if so, it can be static content or else the dynamic content too. So web server is the one which we use. So these are the types of servers we have now. So this is about the servers then. So once we saw what is client and server, now we will go to what is client server architecture, how the architecture looks like. So this is how exactly the architecture looks like. Okay, a client server network is a medium through which client access resources and services from a central computer via either a local network, which is LAN, local area network, or a wide area network, WAN, such as internet. Okay, suppose if you want to access anything over the internet, the mandatory thing is to have an internet, right? Either through your laptop you can access, or through your mobile, or through your tab, anything, um, with your computer tabs, anything. If you want to access some information which is present in the internet over the centralized repository, you need the internet. So this is how the architecture of the um, this looks like. So suppose if you send any request, say you want to open the Facebook, what you will do? So in case of that, what you will do is you will enter the URL www.facebook.com from your mobile, say your mobile. So that will hit the server. So in that span of time there should be some service, right, which runs without knowingly, with, I mean, it will not be noticed by you, but there are some of the logic that will work behind the scene to get the information, and it will contact the server through the internet. It will contact the server and it will request the server to give that particular piece of information, and the server in response to that particular request it will respond back, through which you will be able to see the response. Correct. So in that case, uh, during this period there are some other kind of things that happens. We will see it in testing perspective. Okay, suppose if you are on a local machine, which you are a client right now. Okay, you are in the client machine. Under this type of client, what kind of example, I mean to say, what kind of testing you can perform. For example, so UI based testing you can perform, right? UI testing, as well as how user friendly it is. So that kind of testing you can do. And in between, we have something like um, uh, these networks which are connected and which will hit the server, right? So this part is known as APIs. These are the API calls which hits the server, and the server will contact the database, and it will fetch the data from the database, and it will respond in back. So this is what the thing happens in between this client server architecture. So let's go through the examples or the uses of client server model. So first is centralization of control. Access, resources and integrity of data are controlled by dedicated servers so that the program or unauthorized client cannot damage the system. The centralization also facilitates task of updating data or other resources. So this is one advantage of having the client server architecture. Okay, so everything will be on a same place. At a one single place you can have it, and you can access it through anywhere from worldwide. You can increase the capacity of clients and servers separately. Any element can be increased at any time, or you can add new nodes to the network. So what does it mean? So when it comes to scalability, you can have n number of so not only one person will search for something, right? One person will not send a request. There are multiple thousands, even though 1,000, 2,000, any number of people can use the same network and the same server. I mean, there are different set of servers there located at the uh, centralized place. So all the requests will go to that particular server. If you just go to the Google and search for servers, you can see how it looks like. They're the huge bunch of storage rooms itself it will be occupied with. So such a big rooms, and it is easy maintenance. Distribute the roles and responsibilities to several standalone computers. You can replace, repair, upgrade, or even move the server a while customers, you know, while customers will not be affected by the any changes that has been performed on particular server. So you can just try googling out the server, so how it looks like. So that will not impact any other servers. Only if repairing this particular server will not impact the another server. So that is what um, makes it easy to maintain. So so this is about the client server model. So if you like the video, please do like it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.